You cannot teach your class if you cannot manage your class. What's up everyone? Welcome back to my bedroom. So I got a haircut. As you can see, it's much lighter and I felt like it was great for me to have lighter hair for when I work out. Okay, today I wanted to talk to you about 10 daily classroom management strategies that I use in my classroom every day. Almost every day. I try. Number 1, make sure the kids are lined up, ready to go outside your classroom before they come in. Make sure they're quiet and make sure that they're not being all squirrely and crazy, because then that's going to come into the classroom. So set the expectation outside and tell them to come in quietly. If they're not, send them back outside and they're doing it again. Number 2, write down everything they're going to need for that time period on the board, so that when they come in and they look at the board, they know exactly what they need. Even though you're telling them, I guarantee someone's going to say, what do we need? So you just point to the board instead of repeating it over and over again. And then if they still don't know, say, ask a friend. Number 3, count down starting from 5. When you start to see kids being a little sluggish and getting to their seats, just go
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You're ready. If they're really used to you counting down from 5 and they don't start moving until you get to like 3 or 2, then do the opposite. 1, 2, 3. And as you do that, they're going to be like, what is she counting to? What is she doing? And then eventually tell them, this is how many precious seconds you are wasting in our class. And eventually that's going to lead into their time, their recess time, their lunch time, their lunch period. So just tell them the time that we miss here, it's got to be made up somewhere else. Number 4, have hand signals in place. I've talked to you guys about the comment, the answer, the question, the restroom sign. That just helps you as a teacher to minimize interruption. So I always have kids now go like this to me when they need to use the restroom, so they don't need to interrupt me and say, Miss Lee, I need to use the restroom. They just go like this and I go, okay, or I go, no, wait. Because interruptions are huge, especially in older kids, because they just have a lot to say and we want to minimize interruptions. Also, you have to determine what kind of teacher you want to be. Do you want to be the teacher where you're okay with kids who blurt out answers because they're excited and whatnot, or do you want to minimize it completely? You just need to be consistent with that. So I try to minimize all interruptions. They need to raise their hand and not talk out of turn ever. So implementing that is very important. Number 5, something that you can tell your kids is, show me good sitting. And you can say, I love how some of you are sitting up straight, your eyes are on me. And saying things like that will get the other kids to, you know, kind of sit properly and they're not all like sluggish on their desks. Number 6, talk about active listening. Just because you look at someone doesn't mean you're really listening to them. And so I've talked to my students about what an active listener is, and that means you're really hearing what they're saying. And if I pointed to you, you could repeat what they just said. That's actively listening to the person and not just staring at them and not talking. You really need to be listening, because that's being respectful. Number 7, put a timer up on the board, maybe 60 seconds to 90 seconds, and tell them, in this time, I expect you to put your things away, turn in your work, and go have a seat, or to go line up when you're done. And just have the kids go, 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 and then make sure the room is clean before they transition into the next subject or going outside. Number 8, if someone is constantly interrupting you as you are talking because they just have a comment, they have to say something, they have to talk to their friends, they can't get to work, what you can do is, as you're teaching, you can put a post-it note on their desk, which I've talked about in my silencing a classroom video. But put a post-it on their desk and then come by and just put a tally mark. And the next time you do it, come by, put another tally mark. And at the end of the lesson, when you're all done, take them outside separately and talk to them and say, this is how many times you interrupted the class. This is not acceptable, and my expectation for you is that you sit and you listen and you don't say anything until I ask you if you have any questions. And then after you say that, make sure you compliment them and say, but thank you for those moments where you did, because I want you to know that you can, and you can listen in the class and not talk, or things like that. You want to compliment them to know that, you know, when you discipline them, it's not that you hate them, it's because you genuinely care and want them to be better and expect them to be better. Number 9, I did this with my kids last week. Take a picture of an area in your classroom that needs some work because the kids are leaving it messy, and just show them. So I showed my kids this photo because I always tell my kids, put 1 through 6 textbooks on one side and 7 through 12 on the other. They should all be facing the same way, and if everyone does their part, then Miss Lee doesn't need to spend extra time cleaning up after them. What is wrong with this? And I told them, I am so happy we are using this area, I'm so happy we're using our books, but there's also an expectation of what to do when you are done with them. Number 10. So this is something that isn't done daily. I wish it could be, but it's very important. Morning meetings. Morning meetings are the time where we don't talk about schoolwork. You totally can review, but I try to go more towards social emotional learning in my morning meetings, and I talk about things, and that's when I really get a feel of my students, and then we play games together. This can all take place in like 10 to 15 minutes, but it's a time that's very precious because I learn a lot about my students, and once we feel like a family and once we feel very close together, that's when the students will want to respect you and to try to please you. And so that's where I build the most relationships with my students, and so that when I redirect them, they're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, and I'm sorry, Miss Lee. If you have any specific questions, please leave a comment below and just ask me, and I'd be more than happy to help you. Classroom management is huge because you cannot teach your class if you cannot manage your class, and it's still like the beginning of school basically, so all the way till Thanksgiving you're just reinforcing, reminding, and reinforcing and reminding. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.